everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Carolina Rides. Today, we're talking about a show, that's kind of two shows coming to Lawrence in August. And we're going to talk a little bit about some other things going on in the local car community. I want to welcome Robert Pettit. He's the owner of MysDirection. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. How you doing?
All right. I don't even know where to start. There's so much to start. So what we're going to do first is we're actually going to start with the show that's going on in Lawrence. First off, tell me a little bit about what makes this so unique.
So this is the second annual Rabbit Rod Run, and it is done in honor of my dear friend who passed away in 2024, Rob the Rabbit Pitts, hence the name Rabbit. And this show is just to honor his life and his legacy and all the things he's done. He's very well known in the upstate amongst the car community. And like I said, just a near and dear friend of mine for over a decade. We started a company together, and MysDirection is actually a continuation of that company. And so this is the second year we're doing this show, and we're just trying to make it bigger and better every year. I want to really grow it into, hopefully one day, like end up at Charlotte Motor Speedway with it. I want it to be a big show.
Now, you mentioned it's the second year. What is new this year that people who might have attended last year did not see?
Well, we are adding the second show this year, and what we're doing with that is like we're going to have a traditional car show throughout the day, and then as the evening sets, we have a 16-foot event trailer that is loaded with lights, laser shows, fog machines. So we're going to invite more of the younger crowd that does a lot of the custom lighting to their cars, and we're going to have a nighttime show that features the lighting and all that. And the music will switch up and be a little more like a rap setting versus like we play classic rock throughout our normal shows throughout the day.
Was this something that after last year you got some feedback and people are like, hey, guy, it would be pretty cool if you did this? Or is this something that you just saw that, okay, there's an audience there? Let's go
partially, yes, seeing the audience. Since we were doing car shows, we started doing car shows 10 years ago, Rob and I, under another company called Hot Rods and Happy Hour. And since getting out of it during COVID and coming back to it, it's almost like the car community has shifted entirely. And that's something I've noticed. So we've brought new people onto the crew. We have our original crew members, which is Josh and Brielle. They've been with us pretty much since day one. But we have new members such as Izzy, and she's a lot younger. So she's reaching out to the younger crowd, and we're getting more events that are more like JDM driven than the classic hot rods that we typically have done in the past.
Now, you mentioned you've noticed that shift in the local car community. That's going a little bit more JDM. Have you seen that? Was that sudden? Has that something that's been going on gradually over the past few years? Because I've kind of noticed it too a little bit, and it just seems like a kind of sudden, to me, it seems kind of suddenly, boom, it was there, and now we've got shows everywhere.
So a little piece of backdrop on me, I actually used to do a radio show on when it was 106.3 WROD, mm-hmm. And Rob and I had talked about this a good bit on that show, that we saw the trends coming. We called it with like the OBS Chevy trucks, and then they gained popularity. What it seems to happen is, and I'm 36 now, so I was in high school around 2004 to 2008. And some of the vehicles that were very popular back then is like a 2004 Chevy S10 Extreme. Well, now I find myself, older in life when I can buy cars I want, and that's one of the ones that's on my list to buy. I want a 04 Extreme. So I think that's what you're seeing is as people grow up, they're going back to the cars that they wanted as kids.
Yeah, that does make sense, because I remember a little bit older than you now. So when I was in high school, people would be driving around whatever the hand-me-downs were at the time.
That's what I was doing too.
Yeah, but oftentimes then you're looking at things that people now would say, oh, gee, that would be a classic car if you had it done up right. Old Chevy Novas, old Chevelles, old Mustangs, Camaros, that sort of thing. And of course, those cars then were kind of almost, they were day-to-day cars for a lot of people. So they were kind of throwaway. Little did anyone know how much they'd be worth later. Do you see that sort of thing happening at some point with Civics, Preludes, Accords,
absolutely
like that?
Like like a 99 2000 Honda Civic SI, the price and the value on them are already going through the roof for a Honda. And I do see that continuing to rise. For the longest time, I never thought you would see that. I thought the classic cars, the 70s, the 60s and back, I thought that was going to be where it kind of ended. But no, you're seeing that move up along. I mean, a 96 Impala, I've owned one of those before. they're almost unaffordable to the average car guy now. They're back past the original price tag on a nice low mileage one.
Yeah, a lot of that is particularly for those 90s bubble Impala SSs.
Yep.
I mean, they are the rage now.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see that sneak into like the Mercury Marauder too,
yes.
which is kind of the Ford Motor Company version of something like that. Quickly, we'll jump back to the show here so we can make sure we get all that in before we go on any more of these tangents. But I like the tangents.
I do too.
Yeah, well, there will be plenty of time for that. Popping up here, right here, this is the flyer for the show. Kind of walk us through, obviously there's registration involved. Can people pre-register for this?
Yes, you can pre-register. There's really no need other than to help us out, but the event is listed on Eventbrite. So you can go on there and pre-register for the show. Admission to the show for general population is absolutely free. With this show, we're not really worried about, as far as our company goes, making money. We want to grow this show. So we don't charge for vendors showing up to the show, which is a really unique thing. Another thing we have going on throughout the day is a pinup competition. We work with two ladies very well, Nikki and Leslie. Nikki owns Glitter and Glory Photography, so she does a lot of our photography work, and she does hair and makeup for the ladies. And then we have Leslie, also known as Miss Liberty Bell, and she does a lot of charity work for veterans in the upstate area and a lot of car show work. A lot of people in the car community are very familiar with her. So she'll be leading up our pinup competition. And of course, we'll be doing awards. We'll have food, and we'll be DJing music there as well, and then games as well. We love to play games with the audience and get them involved and just mess with them throughout the show, to be honest with you. We'll have, like we start a game like What's in Your Pocket. It might be a 50-cent piece. It might be a paperclip. But if you bring it up here, I'll give you a T-shirt. And so it's a fun game. It really keeps people listening and interacting with the show. And then again, by night, we'll have the car show lighting awards, and we are going to have a tug of war competition this year. This is something we're bringing from back in the old school car show days. One of my dear friends used to put on a car show called Back to Basics, and they started the tug of war competition, my good friend Mario. And so I asked him, I said, you mind if we bring that back? Because it's really fun getting car clubs to tug of war competition against each other. And we give out an award for that too. And it's really just bragging rights.
Yeah, who would be the strongest car club, you think?
Now I have to brag a little bit here, and you can see I'm a little bit of a bigger guy, but during the days of Mario doing it with Back to the Basics, Team Hot Rods and Happy Hour is absolutely undefeated, and that's something I'm very proud of. We always took home the championship on that one. We had people building teams to come at us.
Now, you mentioned the awards. Are they going to be similar to last year, different? And if somebody is registering and they're wondering where they're going to stack up, and what are the categories going to be? So last year we did a top 50, and that's something I do plan on doing again. And the goal, like a top 50, seems a little excess to a lot of people because you want, if you win, you want to really win. But this is a show where I want everyone to leave with a piece of it. Somehow, some way, because a lot of people coming to this show are coming from out of the state that knew Rob, that followed his YouTube channel or the Netflix show. And so they're big fans of him and they want to take something home. So I try to do as much as possible so everyone can take a little piece of the show home with them. Now, kind of as perspective, top 50, you said. Did you do that last year? Yes, sir. How many cars roughly did you have in the show last year? So last year was a bit of a washout. We had it right at 75, but it was pouring down rain the whole time. Figures. Yeah. So what I figured is we lost our local crowd, but you still had people from Kentucky. We even had people from Texas that was at the show. So we didn't lose the people that came into town. So I expect this show would probably almost double in size if we don't lose our local crowd. Is there? You said double in size, so obviously that's kind of your hopeful target for this year. Obviously, you'd like more if you can. Yeah, I would like more. A realistic target, I'd like to shoot for at least 100 cars this year. That would be, I would say, more realistic. But yeah, I would love to double it in size. I think that would be amazing. You also mentioned you do not charge for vendors. Yes, if somebody, what kind of vendors do you have so far? And if somebody is interested in getting involved, how do they contact you? Kind of put me on the spot. I don't have my list in front of me. I know we have a great taco food vendor. We have dessert vendors. We have a lemonade stand that showed up last year. They're going to be there again this year.
proud to serve as one of the vendors. I know that we're going to be there. They're going to be serving up alcoholic beverages, a little bit of beer, nothing crazy. But just something to have a nice drink throughout the day. And so they'll be out there. And then we have a few just vendors selling things. Like one of my friends from back home, Dustin, owns Midnight Fabrication. He'll have some his displayed pieces out there that he makes, some custom metal pieces and metalwork that he does. And he made our custom trophies last year, and he's going to be doing that again this year.
Now, how does the judging work over two shows? Because they're basically two separate shows. So you have different people doing each based on what their expertise would be, or is it just a couple people are like, oh, I like this one?
So no, we actually use a 100-point judging sheet, and that's something I pride myself in. I've judged many shows over the years, a lot of national events for like the Impala SS Nationals. So I've been out of state judging shows, and it's something I pride myself in. We use a 100-point judging system, and the way I do it, because a lot of shows, especially when you get into big numbers, like one year I've had to judge the Mini Truck Nationals, which usually brings around 700 trucks. Well, it's a little impossible to judge 700 trucks in 2 days. So you kind of look for things to eliminate, like, oh, there's a chip in the paint. I'm not even going to worry about that one. I'm going to move on. And you narrow it down to your real competitors. And then that's when you start really digging in and, break out the white glove, if you will, and look for the dirt spots and, really comb over the vehicle, if you will.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to get out there, because I know I've had a lot of people go to some shows and other places that they think are going to be, oh, well, this seems reasonably well organized. And it turns out it's just kind of, hey, I know you, you're my buddy. Hey, here's an award. And it comes down to people. It's just kind of, whatever their personal preferences are, as opposed to actually really looking at it. So it's nice to hear that if somebody goes, this is something that is going to be judged to a standard.
Absolutely. And the other great thing is I am a rather busy guy, so I do forget people's names a lot of times, and I forget what they drive. So a lot of times I'm out there judging, and I really don't know if this is your car or not, so I can't be biased. So that kind of works out too a little bit.
Okay, what we're going to do right now is we've reached about the halfway point here. We're going to take a short break. We will be back with Robert Pettit right here on Carolina Rides in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Carolina Rides. Robert Pettit, the owner of MysDirection, joins me once again. We've been talking a little bit about the Rabbit Rod Run coming up in August, and we'll wrap this up by giving you one last look at that. But before we get there, let's talk about MysDirection and some of the things you do with the car community.
So MysDirection itself is a fairly new company. It's almost a year old now. My wife and I own it. And so we not only put on car shows throughout the community and put on different car events, we also are a hireable DJ/MC service. We provide judging. We provide entertainment for all types of events. Actually, we're doing 2 weddings over this year and next year as well. We've also done a dog show last year. That was a lot of fun. So we're versatile, but car shows are what we love to do. But we have a business that is capable of doing kind of any event. We have goals that are bigger than car shows and bigger than any events, and more of a nonprofit side of things that we want to do. It's part of the name MysDirection itself. Is one of the things we want to do is an outreach program to get into schools or maybe even jails and reach the misdirected, if you will, and show them like the automotive world and maybe give them a new pathway in life to find a new enjoyment in life or a new career or whatever the case may be.
That sounds pretty cool. Some of the outside of, for example, last year's Rabbit Rod Run, what are some of the car shows and some of the places you've held them, and some of your, I guess, top moments with that?
As far as very recently, we have been working with a Corvette Club of the Upstate. We do Corvettes at Kiwi. That's always a fun event because I love hanging out with my fiberglass friends, as I call them, checking out all the new Balances. But we do that event. We've worked with our friend Nikki. We do events at Harley Davidson in Greenville. It's a great venue. I love doing events there. We've done them in the past as well. And then we work with a lot of like smaller restaurants and bars who are trying to promote their restaurant, trying to get more people in. And those are a lot of fun for me because you can actually see your results instantly. When the restaurant owner comes to you and says, hey, we did X amount better than we have in the past X amount of months or whatever. That makes me feel good because it knows what I'm doing is actually working as well.
So speaking of misdirection, so if you see this truck and that trailer roll on in, you know you guys are involved.
Absolutely. And that's kind of why it is as colorful as it is. I cannot hide anywhere because I daily drive that truck. It's sitting outside the studio now. Wow. But that is the point, because I get a lot older generation that thinks it's crazy looking, it's wild. And then a lot of the younger generation, they absolutely love it and think it's cool. But the way I look at it is no matter what, you're looking at it and it's working.
And yeah, for advertisement, you want something that pops.
Absolutely.
And that certainly does, in fact, fit that bill. Was there any other sort of vehicle you were thinking of for that? Or was it just like, oh, we know we want a full-size truck?
Well, actually, it all kind of fell together weirdly. I'm a guy, I love driving cars. I have crazy cars. I've always owned something weird. One of my daily drivers was a 91 Caprice wagon with a pretty built LS motor in it. It's probably not the smartest daily, but I loved it. And at the time, recently, I was driving a lowered S10 pickup truck, and I really wasn't interested in a big truck at all. I like mini trucks and everything like that. And Rob was sick with cancer, and he had just passed away, and me and his mom was talking because we still own the company Hot Rods and Happy Hour that we started together, which is basically the same company. And she said, you know, you should really start that company back. And I said, yeah, me and Rob were actually talking about it when we were in Texas. And I said, man, I do kind of miss it. So she signed his half of the company over to me, and we started it back up under MysDirection, the new name. And at the same point in time, the transmission went out in my little S10 pickup truck. And I was like, well, I'm about to own a trailer, so I kind of need another truck. So I just went out and bought this one. And it's just it kind of worked perfectly timing wise to end up with that.
All right, so now we've gone back to the beginning of MysDirection. Let's go back a little further. Let's go back to the beginning of just your interest in cars. What was the first thing you remember that made you go, hey, this is something that I would be interested in?
I don't think I had a choice in that matter. We grew up rather broke in Union County, and my dad had a 1980 Chevy Silverado at the time. And it was an older truck even then, and it would break down sometime. And my dad was a disabled man at the time, so it was little old me at the time under the hood doing whatever Dad said to figure it out and fix it and tinker with it. And I just kind of fell in love with that. And I learned pretty quick how to kind of tune an old car by messing with a distributor, messing with the carburetor a little bit. And that got me very interested. And then rolling into high school, my high school teacher, Charles Womack, he really influenced me a lot. I built my first engine in high school with him, and he really influenced it. And then I also had a side passion of art that everyone said, Robert, you don't need to work on cars. You need to be an artist. You need to be an artist. Well, shortly after high school, that led to me going into graphic design and actually doing vinyl and rap. And that's what I do for a living now, is wrap cars. But it led right back to car. The art led right back to cars. So it's always been cars my whole entire life. Even my wife works for a large automotive finance company. My day job is wrapping cars. Like my entire life is nothing but cars, and has been pretty much since day one.
Now, tell me a little bit about the car wrapping process, because I mean, that's something a lot of people do know about. Yeah. But that, on the other hand, you know, a lot of people think, oh, it just needs a repaint. I had a brief moment before I got rid of the Mustang I had, because it was getting kind of beat up on the outside, that I would like this to be in that nice Highland green Ford made for the Bullitt Mustangs. Yep. Get something kind of akin to that. What are some, and it's basically almost every color of the rainbow and beyond that you can get in a wrap, and designs and things like that. What are some of the positives with that?
Well, there are a lot of positives. There is a paint protection quality to it, and they also make a film called Paint Protection Film, and we install that as well. So I'm the art director at a company called Rentec Graphics here in Spartanburg. And so, yeah, wrapping cars it's a protective covering, but I don't look at it that way, as more so as advertisement, or just say you've got your Ferrari or your Lamborghini and you don't really want to do nothing to it, but you're tired of it being red. Well, we can make it lime green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a way to freshen up your car. Or maybe you want racing stripes on it. You've had that Mustang and it just needs a little freshen up. You've had it for the last 5 years and you're kind of tired of it, but you don't want to get rid of it. And you just want a little sprucing up, racing stripes, things like that. Or you can take like my truck and trailer, for example, where you can go absolutely crazy with it.
Yeah, I wish I was at the point where I could say, you know what? I need to change the look of my Ferrari and or Lamborghini.
I'm working on getting there myself.
it may be a while. What was the first car that you had, and then the first car that you had that you actually cared about? Because that could be two different things.
That was one and the same for me. Okay. So at 18 years old, there's a little shop in Union called Sammy Smith's Garage. And Sammy Smith, I noticed out behind his garage had a 63 Chevy Bel Air. It was a 4-door. It's probably nothing special to not many people. But I fell in love with this car. And I begged him to sell it to me. And he finally did. And so I bought this car for $1,500. And then I'm telling myself a little bit. I went to college, but I used to get tuition money for going to college. And I dumped my tuition money into my car. And I built this car from like the ground up, repainted it, built the little 283 in it, did the interior in it. And this was my pride and joy until the brakes failed and I totaled it. But I still love that car. I still miss that car. That's the one that got away, if you will. But yeah, so my love of cars has been since day one with the first car I got as well.
You're probably not the only person who has redirected money from something to something else just to keep a car running.
Guilty.
Yeah. Going forward, is there anything vehicular-wise that you are shooting for, or maybe even if it's not something relatively new, even if it's a project or something you'd like to fix up that's like, that would be good if we did this to it?
So actually, I do have a 64 Oldsmobile Dynamic 88, which is a very odd and rare car. It came with a very odd big block in it, which is garbage. So we took that out and put a 5.3 LS motor in it. It's original AC car, so something I want to do is have AC back in it. But I've thought about ruining this car and doing everything I possibly can in carbon fiber to make it as light as possible. Just for the fun of it, because I've never done anything like that with a car. So I've thought about really just tearing into this one, but it's mid LS swap right now. We got a lot of figuring out to do because of the way the car is set up. One thing is my requirement is to put disc brakes on it, and that's not as easy as just getting a kit because this car is very oddly set up.
Now, you mentioned making it lighter. Is that something just because, or have you ever been interested in drag racing or something like that, where that is an actual advantage?
So I have drag raced pretty much every car I own, whether it's worthy of drag racing or not. But actually, I'm more interested in drifting lately. Okay. And I figured this would be an absolutely ridiculous car to go drifting in, seeing that it's about 24 foot long. So, my nickname is Odd Rod because I like the odd hot rods. So this kind of is on brand for me anyhow. So it's something I've just thought about leaning into and just dicing this car up.
Now, being somebody who obviously not only appreciates some of that older stuff, but some of the newer stuff as well, and looking at the upstate car community right now, where do you see things going in the future from what you've seen? Now, you've said we've had that explosion in the looking at, a lot of the more recent vehicles, a lot of which are, JDM, for example.
Right.
Where are we going from here?
That's a hard question to answer because there's so many different styles and varieties of what people like right now. But I do see car shows coming back really strong, especially over the last 2 years. Our good friend Joe, he just put on the Greenville Motorama, and he's doing that next year. And I think we're going to be involved with that as well. And just seeing shows like that, and then what we're trying to build with the Rabbit Rod Run and where our vision is for that, I think there's just going to start being some big events coming to the upstate. There really already is. But I think you're going to see some big growth in these events over the next few years. Because another attraction I've noticed is Greenville is gaining a lot of, I hate to say it this way, but a lot of money is coming into Greenville recently, and you can tell that there's been a lot more uptick in your exotic cars, and that's a good thing for the car community because you're bringing a lot more variety of interest in.
Yeah, we had Joe on with with Motorama earlier in the year, and I got to go to the show myself, and
it was a great.
When it comes back, I certainly endorse it. It was a good time.
And I told Joe this at the show, and I wholeheartedly mean this. I'm a man that loves to give props when props are due. And Joe put on one of the best car shows in the upstate that I have seen in a long time, and I got to give him props for that.
Well, we look forward to that. We also look forward once again to the Rabbit Rod Run. That's coming up on August 22nd. As you mentioned, 1 day, 2 shows. Any one last little thing you want to mention about the show?
Come out, support it, support what we're trying to do. The more we support each other's events, the more we're going to grow together.
All right. Sounds good. Robert, that time flew by.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for joining me here on Carolina Rides today, and
thank you for having me.
Wish you well with the Rabbit Rod Run, and hopefully you get 150 plus cars, and then people aren't whining about the top 50 because you know what? It's only a third or a quarter of the cars that
Absolutely.
entered. That would be awesome. Thanks once again for joining us.
Thank
you, by the way, for watching. And of course, you can keep up with us on social media. Carolina Rides on Facebook at Carolina Rides, Instagram, Carolina Rides Official WSPA, and our YouTube channel at Carolina Rides WSPA. You may be watching this here now. If you're watching us on the WSPA Plus streaming app, we've got all the old episodes of Carolina Rides right there on the YouTube channel. That's it for this episode of Carolina Rides. I'll see you next time. Until then, drive safely. Take care.